Like for us as business owners, that has been one of the biggest reasons for our success. We've stayed with the same offer for 3.5 years, time in the game. And now we're seeing exponential growth. All right. So it requires patience, but you can save yourself a lot of pain if you're willing to look at the long term versus, I need it now and I want more. Yeah. Well, and something we quote from time to time is that McKinsey study that was done years ago, right? And it talks about how a 5% increase in retention, 5% increase in retention,
which is not much if you think about it.
No, will increase your profit by 25 to 100%.
There is a guy, he's a brilliant marketeer that says we tend to overvalue those who bring the money versus those who deliver the value.
Yep.
And the first time I heard him saying that, I was like, wow, that's what I see in this space. We tend to overvalue marketing and sales because that brings the revenue. But we forget that revenue should be a fair exchange of value. So someone needs to deliver the value. And that's your client success team. That's your fulfillment department. I think that's the biggest thing for us, and how we have been addressing some of these issues with the companies we work with is by understanding like, hey guys, I know you guys are amazing. I know you guys do great with getting new clients in the door. It's time to fix the leaking bucket.
Welcome to the Ethical Scaling Podcast, your guide to navigating online business with integrity. Join Jay and Ben on this epic journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the game, get ready for insights, strategies, and a dash of humor. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your favorite spot, and get ready to deep dive into the art and science of ethical scaling. From client success to boosting lifetime value. Plus, learn how to turn clients into your best advocates. Ready to scale ethically? Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Ethical Scaling Podcast. And today what we're going to be talking about are the pitfalls of scaling your acquisition. So I'm back here with my better half, Jay. And this is something that we see a lot with clients, right? And we have example after example of, all right, I want to grow my business. I'm going to scale acquisition. And then, what happens? What do you see?
Well, they normally don't scale. And it's a different thing that normally happens. They grow. They grow more of everything. It's like more ad spend, more setters, more closers, more of everything. And I think it ends up just being a distraction. And that distraction happens because they actually want more of their business, but they're actually not accomplishing more. They're actually probably accomplishing less. And I think it's important for us to look at what normally happens for the clients we work with and people we know in the industry, so that our listeners can understand, okay, cool. Can I avoid that? Can I do something different? Can I prevent myself from going through it? Or if I'm going through it, what could be the potential solutions for me?
Yeah, well, and of course we're biased, right? Mm-hmm. But we see a far different experience when our clients look at, all right, first, let's look at fulfillment. Can we be more effective? Can we be more efficient? Can we tackle those first? Now, how can we use, increased LTV, more referrals, better testimonials, better results? How can we use that to now scale up acquisition? And, if our ad account gets shut down, we're okay because we've got our back end revenue, right?
Monthly recurring revenue coming in. And I think what you're saying in other terms is avoiding being over leveraged.
Yep.
Because what happens for most businesses is that, cool, I have a credit card, I've been making money, maybe I had a few months making more than 100K or 150K. Let's maximize our ad spend. But most companies forget, are you maximizing cash collections? Are you maximizing lifetime value? Because increasing ad spend or scaling, if you want to call it scaling your acquisition, so how you get more clients in the door to work with you, it's not going to increase collections. It's not going to increase lifetime value. It is not going to increase your profitability. And if those things are not in place, well, we know when you add more inputs to a system without the system being fully optimized, everything might go down.
Yeah.
So if it's already down, it might be not what you were expecting.
Well, and we talked about ad spend issues or ad account issues, but then you go to sales team. Like, how many clients do we see? All right, sales team's doing great. Oh, sales team, this guy quit. I have to go back in and manage.
They don't have calls in the calendar, or and then they don't have a sales manager and who's going to oversee. Because another thing we need to look at for every department, this applies to fulfillment, also applies to sales. When you keep increasing the size of the teams, you're going to increase the number of direct reports. So someone needs to oversee that. Because if you just keep increasing team members without doing quality control, or if you're releasing something new without doing quality assurance, how do you know the system is working? Because I think also I want to bring another definition here, which is kind of misunderstood in our space. Quality assurance is when you have a new system and you validate that the system works, effectiveness. And after that standard is defined for that system, then you do quality control to make sure that that system can perform at the level you want the system to perform. And when we think about that, it could be, marketing, cost per lead, how much are you spending on ads to get new clients in the door? It could be our close percentage. How many clients are we able to close when you get them on a phone call? But at the same time, people forget that you can do the same for fulfillment, increasing all the things you want to increase. You want to get more referrals, more testimonials, more word of mouth. And I know that word of mouth is hard to track or to measure, but it's super easy for you to track your client lifetime value. You have a nice account receivables system in place. If you're able to track your cash collections, you can see, cool, we're collecting more money. It means that our clients are making progress. They're happy. I'm happy. I'm getting more referrals. I'm getting more testimonials. I'm seeing positive reviews online about what we do. Everything is going well. Now I can use that money to fund new clients. I think that's the problem. People want to find ways to fund acquisition through themselves instead of using existing clients to fund their business.
Well, and then, in fulfillment, right, we see a compounding of results over time, right? Like, I lost count of the number of clients that, we end our engagement with them. They're good to go for a while. A year later, we see them and they go, guys, we've added, 3 times more back-end revenue, or the results become exponential. But I think what people don't think about when they're trying to scale acquisition is that can compound too. So you have issues with your ad account. Your cost of acquisition goes up.
Negative compounding.
Your sales team breaks. And then, then you start to panic and maybe your sales team starts letting in not ideal clients.
So they don't see the compounding of the negative effects, but they think the positive ones they have now in place will compound. They don't. With marketing and sales, I've never seen results compounding. Best case scenario, you just keep the same trajectory. And that's the ideal scenario. Like if your cost per lead, cost per book call, number of clients you're able to close, you keep the same ratios, you're doing amazing. But that's not what we see. Yeah. And that's the funny thing about fulfillment and why I think what we do is so amazing, again, super biased, is that it's probably the only system I've seen that can compound like with some really good long-lasting effects. That's what we see with our clients. Hey, we got some really good results working with you guys. And a year later, we got like 10x, 20x. And I know that you cannot accomplish something like that just based on ads or sales teams. We need everything. And I know that we talk about looking at the business holistically. It's not that what we do is better than the other departments. I just think it's probably the one that doesn't get as much attention. Yeah. It's like the bullied department that no one wants to deal with because it's seen as an expense. So it's like, if I want to make more money, I need to increase ad spend. I need to get more clients. And they forget, no, not necessarily.
Yeah, well, and something we quote from time to time is that McKinsey study that was done years ago, right? And it talks about how a 5% increase in retention, 5% increase in retention,
which is not much if you think about it.
No, will increase your profit by 25 to 100%. So it's like, if you can really grasp that as an owner and go, okay, before I just start spending more on ads, before I grow my setter team, my closer team, you can do that, but let's change the sequence. How can I get 5% more retention? And that's just one part of fulfillment, right?
It's a tiny part, but it's probably enough for you to see, okay, cool, I'm going the right direction. Instead of, and again, I know that this comes from a place of impatience. We want to grow fast. But for me, I always feel like it comes from a place of scarcity, you know? It's like, I need to do this fast before there is competition out there, and I'm not going to be the new guy in the block anymore. If you have an amazing experience, word of mouth, and all that good stuff, do you really think that most clients will care if there is competition? People will only do shopping or find competition or look for competition if they're not happy with your service. And that's the thing, I think it's the main takeaway here. Like, you can scale front-end acquisition. You can get more clients to work with you. That's fine. But again, theory of constraints. If your main constraint is your ability to get clients to cross the finish line, get clients to be successful, it doesn't matter if you just keep adding more to the system. The system will break. You don't have the capacity or the ability to be very effective with what you're doing. And again, no judgment. Yeah. It's just for you to be aware there are other things you could be doing that will generate the same or more results compared to the ones that you have today. If you're able to stop and think, okay, cool, am I making enough? Yes. Can I make this better? Yes. Can I look at my team, do an audit, figure out if things are in place, ask my clients, when was the last time as an owner you have reached out to a client and asked them to be very honest with how happy they are with the service you have to offer?
Yeah.
And that would be my recommendation.
We're not talking about NPS.
No, not NPS, because people lie and they want to be nice. I'm saying you as an owner, grab the phone, look for their phone number and call them. Hey, Jay, I know that you have been working with us for 2 or 3 months. How has everything been going for you as a client? That's simple. I know that it might be easier for you not to face the truth. I totally get that. Mm-hmm. But until you're able to listen from the ones that are actually using your services, you're going to be in trouble. There is a guy, he's a brilliant marketeer, that says we tend to overvalue those who bring the money versus those who deliver the value.
Yep.
And the first time I heard him saying that, I was like, wow, that's what I see in this space. We tend to overvalue marketing and sales because that brings the revenue, but we forget that revenue should be a fair exchange of value. So someone needs to deliver the value, and that's your client success team. That's your fulfillment department. I think that's the biggest thing for us, and how we have been addressing some of these issues with the companies we work with is by understanding, like, hey guys, I know you guys are amazing. I know you guys do great with getting new clients in the door. It's time to fix the leaking bucket.
Well, and you know, guys, it's a tough topic because in our space, especially, it's a newer space. You know, there's a lot of like gurus and people in the space that are just hammering down on acquisition. And it is starting to change, thankfully. But, you know, we had a conversation at a event we went to back in December with someone. You know, his company had scaled to $500K a month, and they were having all kinds of challenges because their fulfillment sucked, quite frankly. And they dropped back to $200K a month. And he spoke to us and he said, guys, we're starting to ramp up again. And I'm scared, frankly, that we're going to have this same experience of going up to $500K and then dropping down because our client experience isn't what it needs to be. And, you know, thankfully he came on as a client last week and we're going to be able to help him. But, you know, for some of you, unfortunately, like, you might have to have that experience of the pain of scaling up and realizing like, oh, our infrastructure can't handle this. You got to scale it back down and do it, you know, the right way. Again, we're on our biased view, but sometimes people are going to have to go through that.
And for me, I normally look at the system, and I talk about this a lot when we think about back-end offers and clients that are working with you and you want to sell them more. Same thing for you. And when you look at your offer, you have an offer. After a while, you'll see your bucket, which is your offer, has a couple of holes, and you have a leaky bucket. And instead of you just trying to pour in more into the bucket, you have to fix those holes first. And then you get a new, bigger bucket if you want, or you can try to pour more in if you really want. But until you fix the holes in the bucket, it doesn't matter. It's going to be very, very inefficient, and it's going to burn you out. And I think that's my biggest concern for some of these business owners, because we see these cycles happening over and over again. They go all in, like they say. I don't believe they go all in because most of them don't address fulfillment. And that for me means you're going all in. And then they burn out because it's tough to deal with all the front end stuff. But I think if you guys are able to do something, if I have one recommendation, just grab your phone, reach out to your team, and just ask them, frankly, how are our clients doing?
Yeah. And again, like, you know, I don't think there's a nitty gritty action you guys need to take, but honestly, this is really around changing your perspective of short term versus long term. And it's hard to be patient. You know, Jay and I get impatient. Thankfully, you know, we can kind of help keep each other in check. But if you can see the long game, and one of the things we talk about is time in the game. Like for us as business owners, that has been one of the biggest reasons for our success. We've stayed with the same offer for 3.5 years. Time in the game. And now we're seeing exponential growth. All right. So it requires patience, but you can save yourself a lot of pain if you're willing to look at the long term versus, you know, I need it now and I want more. So that's all we got for today, guys. We'll see you next time.